everyone. How are you doing, George?
I'm doing great, Nini. Good to see you again.
Good to see you too. Today we're going to be talking about a pretty exciting topic, which a lot of people may not be familiar with, which is the non-traditional loans. And I'm going to leave it here so people know what we're talking about today. So just to kind of tie in on what we're going through right now, how do you feel like the non-traditional loans are a good thing right now for some people?
Yeah, non-traditional loans are another option. Back up a little bit, I'll say that the majority of the loans that are done in the United States right now are what they call a traditional loan product.
Correct.
Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac conventional loans, USDA, VA, FHA government loans.
Yeah.
But those are great for a lot of first-time home buyers and second-time home buyers. And traditional loans work off of what I call ICE. Imagine that, another acronym in the real estate industry. Right? So we say ICE, meaning income, credit, and equity. So when you're qualifying somebody for one of these programs, the income is their debt to income ratio. The credit is obviously their credit score, and the equity is their down payment. So sometimes if you're acquiring multiple properties, or you're a real estate investor, or you're self-employed, the income, the ICE method just doesn't work for you. So these non-traditional programs are options that are available.
Awesome. So let's break it more even further into it. So what exactly are the non-traditional loans when comparing to the traditional ones?
Right. So we still want to practice what we call responsible lending. So these non-traditional programs, the two we're going to talk about today, for basically buying a primary residence or any type of property, is called a bank statement loan program.
Okay.
So lots of people, well, right now we're in the middle of tax season, right? So everybody's getting ready to file their taxes. And when you're an investor or self-employed, you want to pay as little tax as possible. So sometimes you have write-offs or depreciation, and your business might cash flow good, but the net income afterwards for a debt to income ratio may not look good on paper.
Exactly.
So with a bank statement loan, what we do is, depending on the type of program they want, we can do 12-month or 24 months, and we do a review of all the deposits that come in versus all the expenses that go out, and that gives us an estimate of cash flow for how much income we can use to qualify.
Gotcha. Yeah, so that can be huge for many different people, like even including bartenders that maybe deposit cash in their bank, right?
Yeah.
And don't have that counted in. So that would be.
I'll give you an example of this. I had a gentleman who owned 2 convenience stores. Okay. And we tried to qualify him, and he just didn't show a lot of income on paper after all of his expenses. But we did the cash flow program, and he qualified for a $400,000 purchase price.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So you mentioned the two types. So you said it was the bank statement and then the cash flow.
Bank statement is the program that we generate the cash flow from that shows how much we can qualify. So the second type of loan program is for investment properties and second homes.
Okay.
You have to be an experienced homeowner, but then this program allows you to qualify based on the rental income. If the rental income is enough to cover the mortgage payment, basically we can do the loan for you.
Wow, that's a very popular one for people that are trying to grow their portfolio if they're investing, or like you said, just a secondary home, and they really can count their current because they already have a mortgage, right? So
so we talk about responsible lending. One of the things is you have to be an experienced homeowner. We're going to require at least a 20% down payment, and we're going to require 3 to 6 months reserves depending on the property. So you're making a nice down payment, you have some reserves, you're an experienced investor, so it's still considered responsible lending. It's more of a common sense approach. If the cash flow works, then we do the loan.
Yeah. So it's all coming down to the numbers. It's not like you're just doing some crazy lending to the person and the person might not be able to qualify or commit to that payment. So
we don't want to put them in a bad situation. Another huge benefit to this program is limited documentation.
Oh,
So real estate investors really like this program because if they own 3, 4, 5 houses, we don't need tax returns. We don't need mortgage statements. We don't need tax bills. We don't need insurance bills for all of the real estate they own. We're just focusing on the one that they're buying.
gotcha.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
so very limited documentation on this one.
I do have a personal question
Yeah.
in this one. How would it go if the person that is the investor and everything else fits, but that person has a bankruptcy? Would that actually play any role or would not?
The bankruptcy, they do have a minimum credit score requirement for this one. So sometimes when you have a bankruptcy, that lowers your credit score to where you don't qualify.
That is true.
So if they're okay with the bankruptcy, really what they're looking on is a foreclosure would have more of an impact than a bankruptcy would because the foreclosure is real estate related.
Gotcha.
But bankruptcy, usually with enough seasoning, I think 12 months of seasoning, we can probably do the program because it's not tied off what happened in the past. It's tied to what's happening in the property in the future.
Okay, that's good to know. So for anybody out there that has that kind of question, that's interesting. Okay, so tell us more about maybe the benefits and also the drawbacks of a non-traditional loan.
Yeah,
For both of them, because I know we have two. So
right. So the benefit, well, let's start with some of the drawbacks up first. The benefit is this may be the only option for you to buy the house. Obviously, we're going to try a traditional loan program because there's going to be more favorable terms, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. On these non-traditional programs, a larger down payment, okay? Yep. Probably a slightly higher interest rate. Yep. So it's going to be less favorable terms on that. But if it's the only option for you, then it is the only option.
It's still a huge benefit, right? So that still overtakes anything else.
But the benefit on, another drawback is for these, you really need it, and like most loan programs, the more homework you can do up front, the easier the transaction is going to be. So like we talked about the bank statement loan, this is not for somebody who says you're taking out over the weekend and they want to make an offer to buy a house and they haven't started the pre-approval process yet. We got to review all those bank statements up front and do our income calculation. So that really goes for any type of product. The more homework you can do up front,
the better it is.
The better it is. And it's just going to be smooth sailing through the closing table. We always tell people the hardest part of the process is getting under contract. Doing the homework and the evaluation and what you qualify for up front, that's your due diligence.
Yeah, definitely. Would you consider the non-traditional loans approval to be a little faster because of the limited paperwork or no?
It can be. If they get us everything we need, we can usually get them approved in the same amount of time for us. There's, 12 months of bank statements. Sometimes we have a missing page or something like that, and we got to go back to them. So I would say the approval process is about the same. It could be a little bit faster because for someone who's a multi-property owner, we don't have to document all those additional properties. So that saves some time.
Gotcha. And what about the actual closing timing?
The closing time on these, I tell people, well, let's back up. The traditional loan programs, those are the bread and butter. We can close those if they do all their homework in like 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah.
A non-traditional loan program, because there's a couple different layers of risk evaluation and underwriting, you're probably looking at a 45-day closing, which still is not bad.
Still pretty reasonable. Yeah. I mean, there are some government loans that takes that long, so that is not really crazy. Okay. So what would be a good candidate that someone is considering maybe this is an option? What do they have to do and what do they need to have in order to qualify for this kind of loans?
Yeah, the good candidates for these programs are self-employed, business owners, and people who are consider themselves real estate investors and own multiple properties already.
Gotcha. And what are some of the requirements they have? You mentioned some credit scores. So do you have on the top of...
These program approvals start at a 660.
Okay.
So 660, you might have to put 25% down instead of 20%. Okay. If you have a higher credit score, you can probably get away with 20%. On multifamilies, on 2 units and above, you're going to require at least 25% down and maybe a little bit more additional reserves.
And there's no limitation of how many more units. It can be 2 or more, and it's not like capped or anything.
Yeah. Another huge benefit to this program, and the people who are really can benefit from it, is the cash buyer. Okay, because let's just say they have $200,000 and they're looking to buy a property. Well, you may only be able to buy one property with $200,000 in cash.
Yeah.
Um, if you're using this program, now you might be able to buy 3 or 4 properties. And the way to build wealth with real estate is multiple properties that are owned, obviously. If you
Yeah.
have $200,000 of cash and you buy one property, that's great. It's going to be a slam dunk. But the minute you have a vacancy on that property, you're losing money. If you
Yeah.
have 3 or 4 properties and you have one vacancy, you still have additional income coming in.
So it's
So
less risk.
yeah,
Yeah.
cash is king, obviously, and
Yeah.
if that's what it takes to get a deal done, that's great. But the cash buyer who wants to be a serious real estate investor and build generational wealth and own multiple properties, these programs are great for them.
Gotcha. So let's say there's someone out there now that is maybe considering this as an option for them, and they're not able to talk to you because I know you're gonna take care of them. What are some things that they should be considering or looking at, to avoid any potential, pitfalls in their way?
Yeah, here's the thing: go with your gut. If it sounds good, then do the program, but continue to ask questions, do your research.
Mm-hmm.
But if there's something about it that just seems off, like it's an interest only, or there's a balloon payment, some of those programs are coming back, and they could put a potential buyer in a bad situation.
Yeah.
Like we talk about, the more homework you can do up front, scheduling a buyer's consultation, asking a lot of questions, those are
Yeah.
all going to be benefits for you.
So definitely try to avoid those variable rates, balloon payment situations, right?
Yeah, especially on investment properties,
Yeah.
because there's a little bit more risk, obviously, when you're dealing with renters and tenants.
Yeah.
And if you need to be able to manage your risk on the lender side and also manage your risk on the buyer's acquisition side as well.
That's very true. Okay. So moving forward, what advice could you give for like non-traditional borrowers out there?
Yeah, non-traditional borrowers. Basically, what is your goal? Is your goal just to acquire one rental property? Maybe you want it to be a second home that you're going to use part of the time, and you're going to Airbnb it as well. These programs
Yeah.
work for that.
Yeah.
Come with a plan, and we can try to tailor these options to meet what you're looking for, obviously. So, obviously, we want to try to qualify you for a traditional loan program because the terms are going to be better.
For
But
sure.
sometimes what I've seen is people usually have enough income to get like a primary residence and maybe one second home or one rental property without looking at some of these non-traditional programs. Once you
And
start
then
getting up into 2, 3, 4 loans, you got to come up with some creative financing options.
correct. Yeah. So this is what this is. This is just an alternative resource for people, first of all, that don't have the income as easy to work with as others, with W-2s out there, but also for people that are looking to invest and are at that cap where, hey, I can no longer use traditional financing. Let's look at different alternative sources then.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. But like everything else, ask a lot of questions. The more homework you do up front, the less stressful the process is going to be.
Awesome. Well, I think that covers it. Do you have anything else that you want to add for today?
No, I just want to say, I hope you're enjoying the above average temperatures. I know my spring flowers are starting to pop up,
Oh,
and
I am very thankful. And it looks like that's not going to last long for us because next weekend they're calling out for snow if it doesn't change, right? Because
that's what I was going to say. Is as soon as those spring flowers pop up and they start to bloom, we're going to get a snowstorm. But with the warmer temperatures, I've been seeing the market heating up a little bit sooner
oh
than
yeah, yeah.
normal.
People want to be out and about. People want to see homes. So it's
Yeah.
it's a great thing to see. And I feel like soon enough we're gonna have more longer days of daylight, and I think that's always help. A lot of people don't want to see houses in the dark. Neither do I.
Yeah.
It's scary sometimes. So
So I am starting to see new houses that are priced well, getting called for highest and best on the first weekend. So
yeah,
as a buyer, do your due diligence and be prepared to make a strong offer.
yes,
Getting under contract is the hardest part. A strong offer, a fair offer. Don't go above where you feel comfortable, but we're starting to see those situations where you have to maybe offer a little bit above the asking
oh, we are
price.
definitely seeing that. I'm definitely seeing that.
Yeah.
Multiple biddings are coming back, or they are already back. I don't know if they ever actually left.
Right.
But there was opportunities, in some areas where some buyers took advantage of, which I'm so happy. But yeah, the spring market is here already, to be honest with you, and it's already getting crazy with the beatings. So the more prepared you are as a buyer, the better it is. And I mean by prepared is knowing your numbers, being pre-approved and ready to go. I always tell people, forget about the price and forget about, you know, everything else. Just focus on the monthly payments. If your
Yeah.
monthly payments are good for you, that's all you have to worry about. Because between your agent and your lender will work the rest for you. But the numbers of the monthly payments is what matters.
You would know better than me. We still have a housing shortage. We have a supply issue.
Yes, we
So
sure do.
if you're overpaying a little bit for the house right now and you're still comfortable with the monthly payment, 6 months from now, a year from now, you're going to be happy that
Very
you got the
happy.
house for what you did and you didn't wait. The cost of waiting will kill you.
Yes. Cost of waiting is a real thing. Inflation is always out there. Housing prices are always going to continue to go up. We are not foreseeing a drop in price. We have that whole episode about the bubble. I mean, we're in a different bubble, not the bubble of 2008. So, we're
Didn't we
not going
talk
to be
about the bubble
exploding
last time?
now. Let's not mention bubble. That word scares people.
Yeah, so what people can look for is as long as rents continue to increase, housing prices are going to continue to increase as well. When we start to see housing prices level off, rents will start to level off. So if you can afford to buy, you should look to buy, because when you're renting, you're just making your landlord rich.
Yes, and you're paying 100% interest. People, listen to this.
That's a high rate.
I exactly. Some people come to me, they're renting, and it's like, oh, I'm not buying a house now because the interest rates are higher. I'm like, what are you talking about? You are paying 100% interest.
Right. I think we talked
Buy
about
a
this a
house.
little bit last time.
Finance later, get better
Yeah.
rates, but at least you're owning and you're paying yourself to your future.
We did
You know,
talk about
building
this
that
a little bit later. There is a benefit to working with us. We do realize that a lot of people want to buy and refinance when the time is right, but there's a cost associated with refinancing, and some people want to
There
keep
is.
that down. So anybody that does buy with us in 2023, if they choose to refinance within the next 12 months, we're going to waive all the lender fees to help to keep their costs down for them. Yeah.
People, listen to this. They're waiving the fees if you buy this year. Take advantage of it. Take advantage. Own a home, build equity, build for your future. This is a real deal.
Yeah, your home is an investment, and we realize that the interest rate is probably not the best right now, although they are trending towards coming down later this year. But
Yeah.
the more they trend and the more interest rates come down, the more buyers flood to the market and the more prices go up. So buy now while you can, while there's still a little bit less buyers, and refinance and get in a better situation financially later.
Very, very true. So if you guys have any additional questions about today's topic, or really anything at all real estate related, if you want to get your pre-approval done, or if you want to try to talk about, just getting started overall, you can get in touch with us. Our information is scrolling through the bottom here. So, and then you can rewatch this later. And if you have questions, send it over to us. We'll be happy to answer.
So real estate investors who you were told, no, you don't show enough income, these programs could be two options for you. So please feel free to give us a call.
There you go. Call George for the non-traditional options. Thank you so much, George, for your time today. I appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome. Talk to you soon.
Always very, very knowledgeable. I appreciate it.
All right. Have a great day.
Thank you, you too. Bye-bye.